everyone, it's Ali. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me today, whether you are coming back to my channel or you're here for the first time. If you are in the mood for a card making sesh, then you are in the right place. In today's video, I'm going to be using up an entire 6x6 paper pad and making 41 cards. If you do enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more. And I love talking to you all in the comments and hearing your thoughts on my videos, so please leave me a comment and let me know your thoughts. As well as making all these cards together today, I'm going to walk you through a lot of questions that I would expect you to have on watching this video and give you a ton of tips and tricks for bulk making cards. I've got a ton of tips to share with you, so I hope you learn something from this video. Onto the supplies we're going to be using in this video. I've got this paper pad from Violet Studio. Violet Studio is a new brand from Crafter's Companion and it's much more like modern, minimal, fresh brand from Crafter's Companion. I really like it, and also it's a really affordable price point. These paper pads retail for £2.99 for 30 sheets, which I think is an incredible price. You'd be really hard pushed to find anything similar at that price. To go with the paper pad for my sentiments, I've got this pack of Violet Studio tags, which has a bunch of everyday sentiments in, which is really good. I really like these. And then I've also got the matching toppers to go with the paper pad. There are 28 pieces in the pack, and there's a bunch of different like frames and sentiments and little tags and stuff. So these two together I thought would be perfect to go with the paper pad. The only other things I'm going to use is this really adorable little die that I got from Hunky Dory, and I've been dying to use this ever since I bought it, and I thought this is just the perfect time. You don't have to use a die. You will end up with a few more scraps if you do, so if that's not something you want to use, then that's fine, you don't have to. I'm also going to use two colours of Nuvo drops. These are the crystal drops in Calming, Aqua and Buttermilk. I just thought these were the closest to the colours on the paper pad that I had in my stash. And then the last thing I'm going to use is a bit of twine. This is like a cream cord that I have in my stash that I got from AliExpress ages ago. And I've also got a bunch of card blanks that I've pre-cut and folded before I start. I'll talk to you a little bit later about the size of the card blanks and why I've decided to go with that size, but we'll get into that a little bit later on, don't worry. So pretty minimal supplies for today's video. I really wanted to keep it affordable. As I said, you don't have to use a die. If you don't have a die cutting machine, you could make nearly all of these cards without that. So that was just something I added because I really wanted to use it and I hadn't had a chance to do that yet. So one of the very first things I do when I ever start a project like this is I kind of get myself organised. So you've seen already that I've already made all of my card bases. One of the first things I will do upon opening the paper pad is get any cutter parts out and cut them down. So this particular paper pad had one sheet of cutter parts where some of the cutter parts have got sentiments on, which is great because I can use those as a sentiment on a card, and then other ones are just imagery, which again is great because I can use it as a focal point. I really have got into using these little dishes that I bought for my kitchen, but they've just ended up in the craft room, as a lot of things do, to sort out all of my toppers before I start making cards. So I will usually have one little dish for all of the focal points that don't have any words on, and then I'll have another one with all the focal points with the words on, so I can just easily grab like I need a word for this card because I'm missing a sentiment. And then the other one I will usually have for all the smaller sentiments. So in this case I just had all the little fishtail tags in there, and that made it really easy when I was making cards. I could just easily grab, I could see what I had left, I could see what I maybe needed to use a few more of on the next few cards, and it kept my desk a lot tidier than it would have been otherwise. You will see later in this video that the desk did not stay tidy at all, and the closer to the end of the video we get, the more I do not have time for clearing up. So it will get messy, it doesn't stay like this throughout the video, but I'm sure you can all relate to that very well. So on to the questions I think you guys are going to ask. First of all, if you've got any more questions that I haven't answered during this video, then please leave them in the comments because I'll happily chat with you guys all day long and answer any of your questions that you have. So don't be afraid to ask. I'm more than happy to share anything that's going to help you guys. So the biggest question I think people have is how long did this take? So I had 4 hours and 20 minutes of footage when I'd finished filming this, and I made 41 cards. So that included all of my die cutting time, that included all of my organising my bits and bobs time. The only things it didn't include were making the card bases, which I did beforehand, and then also the drying time for using the Nuvo drops. So everything else was included in that 4 hours and 20 minutes. I thought I did pretty well. I did it a lot faster than I did for my last video, but I think in this one, A, I made a few less cards, and B, it was a slightly smaller paper pad. It didn't have as many sheets, so that's why I got through it a bit quicker. Also, probably because I've had a bit of practice now, so there's less deliberating going on in this video. Last time I filmed a video like this, I cut out all the deliberating, and this time I've just left all the footage in. I think it's nice for you to see that, you know, I don't know immediately when I start making a card how it's going to turn out. I'm not one of those card makers really that necessarily plans ahead with my cards. I just kind of like to create on the fly. I find that a lot more fun than like following a pattern, and sometimes I will refer to like a card sketch or something for inspiration, just for the general layout of the card, but I'm not necessarily somebody that copies them kind of measurement for measurement. So I don't have any measurements for the layouts on these cards, but I do have some measurements for the card bases and the mats, which I'm going to share with you. Actually, I might as well share that with you now. What card bases did I use? So I made all of my own card bases from white and craft cardstock. And what I actually did, I know a lot of my viewers are in the US and you guys use 8.5 by 11 inch cardstock. Now in the UK we don't really have that. We have A4 cardstock, which is a slightly different shape. It's almost the same, but it's not quite. So me cutting in half one of our sheets of A4 would actually end up making 2 A6 cards, but because they don't kind of match up with like an inch measurement, and I prefer to work in inches, especially when I'm using a 6x6 paper pad. I just find it a lot easier to work things out in 1/4 inches, 1/2 inches. I actually cut the A4 sheet down so it is 8 inches by 11.5 inches. So there's like a small strip from each side of the A4 sheet that I cut off, and then I cut that in half. And then each of those two pieces I will fold in half down the middle. So my finished card base that I end up with is 5 3/4 inches tall by 4 inches wide. So it's slightly different shape to an A2 card base, but I've found that works really, really well for these projects, and that's the same size that I used on my last video, the video where I made 60 cards using the Merry Little Christmas paper pad from Pebbles. So I really liked that size last time, and I decided that I just wanted to use that size again because it worked so well for me. I just found it really easy to calculate all the different measurements. So that was the card base. The card base is 5 3/4 inches by 4 inches. And to help me out while I was making these cards, I also wrote down some other measurements. So I wrote down the measurement which is 1/4 inch smaller than that, so 5.5 by 3 3/4 inches. That would give me, if I cut a piece that size, that would give me 1/8 of an inch mat all the way around the edge of the card. And then the other measurements I wrote down were 5 5/8 of an inch by 3 7/8 of an inch. That would be 1/8 of an inch smaller than my card base, so that would give me a 1/16 of an inch around all the way around the edge, which is not one that I used, I think, if much, if at all, in this video, because that is very very small and much more difficult to get right when you stick down. So the other one that I did use was 1/2 inch smaller, which would give you 1/4 of an inch mat all the way around the edge of the card. That was 5 1/4 inches by 3 1/2 inches. So I had all of those written down on my sheet of paper, so I could refer to them while making these cards, and then I kind of knew what size to cut my sheets to, so I wouldn't have too much wastage left over. So I hope that answers all the questions you guys had about the size of the card bases. I know they're a bit of an unusual size, but I just prefer this to an A6 card. I've made A6 before, and I found converting the inches into centimetres that the A6 is in, I just didn't enjoy that at all, so I just make it a little bit easier for myself. So what did I do to prepare for this video? I cut and folded all of my card bases. I wrote down the measurements that I was going to use, and I just organised all the bits as I cut them up. That was it. I didn't really do much more preparation for the video. I did go through and choose a few things for my stash to use, which you would have seen at the beginning of the video. I think sometimes having your entire stash to work from is a bit overwhelming and is a bit too much. So I actually really enjoy a project where I'm just limited, and I find I'm a little bit more creative and I come up with more ideas when I've only got a handful of things to work with. So if you've never done that before, I would really recommend that you give it a go. You don't obviously have to do it to the extent that I have done in this video. You could just say, I'm going to make, 5 cards with these 5 supplies, and then that would be a really nice little session. What am I going to do with the cards? Now, this is a really good question. So I love watching videos like this. You will have heard me talk about this before, and a lot of the card makers that do these types of videos are in the US, and they donate their cards to various different causes. Now, I had a look at some causes that I could donate my cards to and places I could send them to, and they are pretty much all in the US. Now, I could probably contact them and say, can I send them to you from the UK? But A, that is going to cost them quite a lot of money to ship the cards, and B, I kind of want to donate them in this country a little bit more than I would want to send them to America. There's loads of card makers in America donating to these kinds of causes, and I'm sure they could always do with more, but I really wanted my cards to stay in the UK. I don't know. So I did a little bit of research trying to find some places that would accept them in the UK, and there wasn't really a lot about it online, so I was kind of a little bit at a loss. And then I thought, who would want these? I thought, I've got this paper pad that's all about the baby cards essentially, and all of the toppers are like baby themed. So what am I going to do with like 30 new baby cards? And then I thought, well, what about the maternity ward at the hospital? It would be really nice for the maternity staff to be able to give baby cards to the patients on the ward, to the new mums, whether they've got all their family around them or they haven't got anybody with them. It would just be a really nice thing for the nurses and the midwives and the doctors who have been with them in the hospital, to give them a card from them and they'll all sign it. And I thought that would just be such a nice thing to do. So what I did was I found the contact for my local hospital. I live in Nottingham, so I contacted the local Nottingham Hospitals Trust. They have like a charity page online. It was very easy to find with a Google search, and it had a little bit on there about, if you want to make donations, then get in touch with us here. So I emailed them and I said, is this something you'd be interested in? I don't want to send it to you if it's just going to be like a pain, like it's going to be more hassle for you to deal with than it is going to, create joy, because I don't want it to be a task for somebody to do. I want it to be something that is actually going to make a difference and make people smile. So they came back to me and they said, I need to go away and have a look for you and find out, and we'll get back to you soon. I thought, okay, well, that's nice. At least they've replied. So I gave it a few weeks and they got back in touch and said, yes, actually, we'd love that. If you could send us a box of new baby cards to the maternity ward. They gave me the address of the person that I could send it to, and they said we'd love to have them. So I was like, brilliant. So that is what I'm going to do with all these new baby cards, is I'm going to send them to my local maternity ward for the staff to give to the patients and the new mums and the new dads. So there you go, if you're wondering. I think there's lots of other places you could also get in touch with to donate cards to. So obviously new babies, the hospital makes sense. I'm sure there will be other like places like mother and baby units, or women's shelters that you could donate them to. And then there's other things, there's like, get well cards. I'm not sure hospitals like to have get well cards, because some of the patients, obviously, that it can be insensitive, if they're not going to get well. I'm not sure. I would always ask first if you're going to send something like that. You could also get in touch and ask if the children's wards want birthday cards and things like that, or just like, just happy little cards that the patients can send to each other, the children on the wards can send to each other, the staff can give to the patients can give to the staff. There's all different kinds of things. So I would, if you've got a hospital trust near you, I would get in touch with them and ask them if there's anything in particular they would like. You could also get in touch with other charities locally and see if it's something they would like to sell in their charity shops as well, or shelters and places like that. So I hope that gives you guys a few ideas. I've got this amount of baby cards that I'm going to send to the hospital, but I've only made 41 in this video, so I think I'm going to have to make a few more, because I can imagine they'll get through those very fast at the hospital. So I've got a couple more baby paper pads, I've definitely got Hey Baby from first edition, so I think I'm going to do another video like this with that and use up all of that paper pad. And then by then I might have enough to send them a box. So I don't want to send a box and then them run out really fast and be like, oh dear, some of the new parents are going to miss out. I wouldn't want anyone to feel that way. So I'm going to be making some more before I send them. But I just really enjoyed doing this because it was so nice to think this is where these are going to end up. And, you know, I love making cards. That's why I make them, because I enjoy the process of creating and putting it together and designing it. But knowing that it's going to go somewhere that it's going to be like appreciated, enjoyed, and it's going to make somebody smile, that makes it even better for me. That's, you know, it's not a waste of time because I've enjoyed the time, but it's even better if it goes somewhere and makes a difference, you know. So that's all the questions I can think of really that you guys might have, but obviously if you have any more, leave them in the comments and I will happily answer them for you. Oh, it's the cat. Hello, Oscar. What are you doing back there? Stop scratching my chair. On to my tips for bulk card making. So I am maybe not the traditional bulk card maker because I don't make, you know, tons of the same card. You probably will have noticed in the video I like to mix it up. So even if I repeat the same layout, they tend to be all different. So some of my tips might be a little controversial, but hopefully you find some of them useful. So my number one, use your scraps as you go. I hate having a huge pile of scraps at the end that I don't know what to do with. So as I'm making my cards, if I have a strip, I will try and incorporate it into the cards. I will cut the strips into little banners and flags. You'll see me do that a lot in this video because that's something I do all the time. Quite often I find it a lot easier to just whack a banner on the card as I'm making it, as opposed to a strip. It just looks a little bit more finished to me. Little banners look really nice in like the top corners. You're scratching my chair again. Stop it. What are you doing? I'm not getting you any more dinner. You've had like 3 dinners. A lot of the scraps that I have left over I will turn into the little fishtail banners. So you can make them literally any size you want and use them in a bunch of different ways. And you will see me use them a lot in this video. Don't be afraid to repeat layouts. So if you made a card and you really liked the layout, just do it again. You don't have to use the same colours. You don't have to do it the same way up. You don't have to use the same sentiment. There's quite a lot of cards in this video that I used roughly the same layout, but I mixed up the patterns and the base card and the card base. So, you know, if you enjoyed that one and you think, oh, I could do that again with these extra bits that I've got, just do it again. You know, who's going to know? No one's going to notice. You're not going to give the same card to the same person. So, especially if you're going to be donating them all. If you are stuck on a card or you feel uninspired or you think this just needs something else, then just put it aside and come back to it later. I do that a lot in this video. And also at the end of the video, I go back to any cards that feel unfinished and add nouveau drops. So that's always something you can do. You don't have to do it all at the same time. You can do, you know, your rough card making, and then you can come back and add extra embellishments. You can see what you have left at the end and just add them back to your cards. Also, just don't be afraid to just like walk away. Like, I didn't do this all in one go. This took me several days to do. And when I got fed up of it, I just put it down and walked off. Like, good thing about a project like this is you can just bung all the supplies in a box and just save it for another day. I really like the cardboard pizza boxes you can get, and those are plenty big enough to store everything you would need for a project like this, as long as you've got minimal supplies. Obviously, if you're like going crazy and you've got like 20 different things that you're using, you might struggle. You might need a slightly bigger box. But I have done that before when I've needed my desk to work on something else. With my last video that I did, the Christmas one, I put all the stuff in a box for a month and came back to it later just because I was just fed up of it. That does happen sometimes. With this project, the paper pad actually grew on me as I was using it. I liked it when I started, but by the time I'd finished, I was like, this is a really good paper pad. This is a really good mix of patterns. There's a nice variation in here. You can do a card for a baby girl, you can do a card for a baby boy, or you can do a gender neutral card. Whoever designed it did a really good job, and I think for the price it's absolutely fantastic. Honestly, I can't fault it. Another tip I have for you is assemble your scraps into larger elements. So you will see me do this a few times where I build an element not on a card. So I just start putting little bits of scraps together and build something bigger. And that is a really, really good way to kind of use up a few scraps without feeling daunted about, you know, I have to lay this out on a card exactly how it's going to look. You can always assemble a few of your scraps into larger elements and then put them back in your basket of focal points and come back to them in a bit. That is a really good way. If you're like sick of looking at a card and you're like, I don't want to put anything on a card base anymore, that is just, I can't think of another way to lay these pieces on this card. That is a really good thing to do because it's slightly less pressure, and I'm sure you will get your mojo back quite quickly. Another tip I have for you, keep your bits and pieces tidy as you go. So there's a few stages in this video where I've just got bits of paper all over the table, but you know what they say, do as I say and not as I do. I do try to go back and resort all of my pieces out during this project, so I will start running out of flags and I start running out of sentiments, and I have to go back through and check like what have I got left, and I put them all back in my little dishes, and it just makes my workflow so much easier, and it really makes it more efficient. I can find what I want, I can see what I've got left, I can see, right, well, I've got, you know, 20 of these banners, so I really need to use some more of these on these cards. And I've got loads of these little focal images, the little cutter parts with the suns and the rainbows on, so I really need to make an effort to use up some more of those. And having just everything tidy on the desk, it just made it so much easier. So tidying as you go is, I think, one of my biggest tips for doing card making, especially when you're having a long session, because when I first started making cards, I would end up with this tiny little square in the middle of my desk where my workspace was, just surrounded by stuff, and that is really not a good way to work. Like, it doesn't, you can't see the wood for the trees because it's just crap everywhere. So tidying as you go and having lots of little dishes on your desk that you can put your scraps and your leftover bits in and have it organized, that is like a godsend, I promise you. A few more tips I have for you. So I've got some don't things now, some things not to do. So if you're going to do a project like this where you are confined to just a handful of products and you're going to have to use them for quite a long time, you know, multiple cards over multiple days, don't use supplies that you don't love. Don't pull out a paper pad from your stash and go, oh, well, I don't really like this one, so I'm going to use this for this project, because by the end of it, you will hate it. I promise you. So pick something that you at least like and that you want to work with, especially if this is the first time you're doing a project like this. If you are a veteran of projects like this, which I am most certainly not, you know, feel free to pick one that you're maybe not 100% in love with. But I think if you're doing this for the first time, you don't want to be put off. You don't want to get, you know, a third of the way through the project and go, I really hate the rest of the patterns in this paper pad. If you have got paper pads or supplies like that you really just don't like, and you're keeping them because you think, well, one day I'll use it, one day I'll finish it and I won't waste it, just get rid of it. Honestly, you don't want it cluttering up your life. Just give it to somebody else that is actually going to like it and enjoy it, and pare your collection back to the things that you are actually going to use and the things that you want to use. You know, if you went into your paper pad stash right now, be honest, and pulled out paper pads that you would want to work with today, that you could make a card with today, how many would you have? Because I'm sure it's not all of them, because it wouldn't be for me. Maybe I need to follow my own advice a little bit there. As a caveat to this, I said don't use supplies you don't love, but also for a project like this, don't use supplies that you're precious about. Because what's going to happen is you're going to want to make every card the best card ever, because you're not going to want to waste those supplies, whether it's a paper pad or a specific type of cardstock or a specific embellishment that you're using. You are going to fret over every little element on the card because you're going to want to make it absolutely perfect so as not to waste this amazing supply that you absolutely love. So don't use stuff that you're precious about. Especially if this is your first time doing a project like this, pick something that either you can easily replace, or that you don't mind wasting a little bit of, or that you can just kind of let go and just enjoy the process and the result and not worry about it being perfect. I am a big perfectionist, and trying to let go of things and just go, well, it's not perfect, but that's okay, has been a real learning process for me. And I am getting there slowly. I've not mastered it, but I have got to the point where I can glue something on a card and it's not quite straight, and I can go, well, you know what? I don't care. And the person I give this card to is not going to care if that piece of cardstock is straight. What they are going to care about is that you took the time to make it for them. And that is the most special thing about it, not whether your mat is perfectly spaced around the edge, or if the cardstock's glued down straight, or if you can't see any of the glue marks. So picking some supplies that you're not that precious about is a really, really good idea for a project like this. Probably the final big tip that I have, unless I think of any more while I'm talking to you, which I may do, is use tools to speed up the process. So you will have noticed in this video that I'm using my ATG gun. If you don't know what an ATG gun is, it's that giant yellow thing that looks like a huge tape dispenser. It's the most comical card making supply I've ever seen, and I think it looks absolutely hilarious, the size of it, especially because some of the things I use it on are absolutely tiny and disappear underneath it. But I am telling you now, that ATG gun is a godsend. It makes things so much faster. It makes applying adhesive just like so quick and easy, and it lasts for ages. I've had this for ages and I haven't had to fill it up again. And I've got loads of the tape rolls, so it's going to last me a long time. So that is my favourite adhesive applicator at the moment. I also use a little bit of liquid glue in this video for the smaller pieces. I'm using Ranger Multimedia Matte, which I actually need to get another bottle of because it's nearly all gone. I like that glue because it dries matte, and I tend to not have too many issues with it warping or anything like that. For this particular paper in the Violet Studio paper pad, it is thinner, on the thinner side, so that's why I went with the double-sided adhesive from the ATG gun for it. I do find that you end up getting a bit less warping when you stick it down, especially on thinner paper. But for some of the smaller elements, it's just easier to use the glue, so I did. And I didn't really have any issues with it. So I'm not making particularly complicated cards here, am I? So I also used a little bit of foam tape. I've got the Sizzix foam tape here. I like using the foam tape on the little tags because I, for some reason, can't put a tag on a card without adding a bit of twine through the hole. I don't know, does anyone else feel like that? I just feel like it just looks weird. And I just can't do it. So a little bit of foam tape behind it just to hold it off the card so the twine doesn't sit on it weird. The other thing I use a lot in this video is my paper trimmer, and I use my paper trimmer in every single video. I mean, I don't think I've ever made a video and not used that flipping paper trimmer. It is my most used gadget, and as somebody that is terrible at measuring things, it just makes it so easy. It speeds up card making, and I think anyone that's getting into card making is find it a bit frustrating is probably because you don't have a trimmer. I don't know what I would do without my trimmer. I've got 3 trimmers. That little Tim Holtz one, which is my favourite one because it's a really nice size. I've got a We Are Memory Keepers one, which I use for my scoring of my cards. And sometimes I use it to cut the cardstock, but it's a little bit temperamental, so I tend to avoid that one. And then I've got a really big 12x12 trimmer that I got for Christmas. There's like a massive guillotine. And that's really good if I'm cutting a lot of card bases or larger pieces, because it has the full 12x12 measurements on it, so it makes it really easy to measure larger pieces. But yeah, that Tim Holtz trimmer, to be honest, it needs a clean. It's got sticky stuff all over it, but I love it so much, and I would go out and buy another one in a heartbeat. I think those are all the tools really that sped it up. Having some good non-stick scissors is really important if you're going to be working with foam tape. I've got a couple of different pairs that I use in this video. One pair is from Crafter's Companion, that's the pair with the purple handle, and then there is a pair with the blue handle, which is a Tonic Studios pair of scissors. Both really good. I don't really prefer one over the other. It's just I started using the Crafter's Companion scissors and then they ended up on the other side of the room and I couldn't be bothered to go and get them, so I ended up using the Tonic ones. I do love a good pair of scissors. Please tell me in the comments what your favourite scissors are, because I'm always on the hunt for more scissors. I've got this pair of Fiskars needlepoint scissors, which might be a controversial thing to use for paper crafting, but I really like them for getting a really nice sharp edge and doing fussy cutting as well. They're really good for that. So, and because I only use them for paper crafting, it's fine. It doesn't like dull the blades or anything. You can't really use the same pair of scissors for fabric work and paper crafting, but I'm sure I'm telling you guys all know that, don't you? You don't need me to tell you that. Be like that. Have you guys ever seen that meme where somebody used their mum's scissors to cut a tortilla wrap, and then somebody commented on it on Facebook and said, kill them, which is a bit of an overreaction, but I mean, not much of an overreaction. I'd probably feel the same if I discovered somebody had used my Fisker scissors to cut a tortilla wrap. That I would not be happy. I think my partner knows not to go into the craft room and take any of the pairs of scissors out of there, because I'm very precious about them. In fact, I've actually bought him pairs of scissors just so he won't use my scissors before. When I was a kid, my mum was always asking, where are the scissors? They always used to go missing in our house. And they go missing in my house as well, but I've got so many pairs it kind of doesn't matter, because I've always got another pair knocking around somewhere. So I do want to share a few of my thoughts on the Violet Studio range, because that is what I have used for most of the products in this video. So as I said before, the 6x6 paper pads are £2.99 each, which I think is an amazing price. And the pack of printed mini tags and the cardstock toppers are £1.49 each, which again, amazing price. So altogether, those supplies cost under £6. And then I've got a few other things that I've added in, but those are all things that I obviously haven't finished using for this project. So, you know, the glue, the tape, the twine. I have a lot of white cardstock to make my own bases anyway. So £6 plus some things from your stash to make over 40 cards, I think is incredible. And I know that my cards might not be to everyone's taste. I know that some people love to use mattes on their cards, and I do too sometimes. Sometimes when I'm making a card, I would like to use mattes, but sometimes when I'm making cards, I don't want to use mattes, and I use the background of the card base as part of the design. And I hope you guys will agree that that does look nice. I think it does. So Violet Studio as a brand is available on the Crafters Companion website. If you have an account with Crafters Companion and you've shopped with them before, you've probably collected some loyalty points. And the more loyalty points you have with Crafters Companion, the more perks you get as you move up their loyalty program. So you actually get a discount. So I know that I have a discount on the Crafters Companion site. So I am actually a silver status on the Crafters Companion site. And that means I get 10% off all orders that I place with them. I've only got 101 points to go until I get 15% off, so I think I may have to go on a shopping spree. If you don't want to shop on the Crafters Companion site, Violet Studio is also available on the Craft Stash website for essentially the same price that it is on Crafters Companion. I think they have pretty much all of the range on there, and it is also available in store, and some are available online at The Range. So if you're in the UK, you probably have heard of The Range. It's like an affordable department store, I would call it. They have quite a good craft section, but they also sell like homeware stuff, gardening, pet care, all that kind of thing. And they sell online as well. So that gives, I think, everyone watching an option for somewhere to shop for Violet Studio if you're interested. There's quite a lot of other things in the range. So they do have the baby range, which I think is really good if you want to make like loads of baby cards. But I realise like not all of you will want to make like 40 new baby cards. Maybe you all do, I don't know. They also have some really like nice basic ones. So there's a really nice one called Florals, which you might have seen in my previous video that I did about Violet Studio, because I used some of the patterns in that because I had the Florals card kit. There's also a Butterflies and Flowers paper pad, which I'm sure a lot of you will like. I know butterflies are really popular in the crafting community. There is a Spots and Stripes set, which is a very like colourful basics set, which is really nice. And then Positivity, which you might have seen me haul the paper pad for in a previous haul video. I'll try and link that one if I can find it, if you haven't seen it. And then there's the Tropical collection, which I think the Tropical one is my favourite, and I've got the 12x12 pack of that, so I think I may have to use that in a video like this. I've not done this kind of project with a 12x12 pad before. I'm guessing it will just be pretty much the same, it will just make more cards because it's, you know, 4 times the size. They also do a bunch of different card making kits in this range, so if you want everything in one kit, they sell the kits for $5.99, and you get a lot of stuff in there. There's a normal sized card making kit, which is $5.99, and then there is a huge one which retails for $29.99, but that has got like hundreds of pieces in. So there's lots of other little embellishments that they sell as well, like buttons, tassels. I think the tags are really cool. I really like the neutral tags, and I got 2 packs of those when I ordered them. There's also pom-poms and stickers, other embellishments. So I think this is a really good range if you are just getting started in papercraft, because it's not super expensive and you can just, you know, create without worrying. I think it's really good if you've got children that are wanting to get into papercraft, especially if they're wanting to craft with you, but you maybe don't want to share your expensive supplies. So I would really go and recommend that you check it out, and I'm sure you'll find something that you'll like. I'm looking forward to seeing the next ranges that they come out with. I actually know a few of the guys on the team that works on this brand, and I know the amount of talent that is on that team at Crafters Companions, so I expect to see some really brilliant things coming from them over the next few months and years. I would like to know in the comments your favourite paper pad brands, and if there are any specific paper pads you think I really need to add to my collection. Like, I probably shouldn't be asking this because I already have way too many paper pads, but I've really got on my list to try doodlebug designs. A lot of videos like this on YouTube are made using their paper pads, and I'm kind of tempted to get some myself because I don't have any. But I would love to hear your favourite paper pad brands and your all-time favourite paper pad, if you can pick one. I know it's a really difficult thing to choose, but I would love to hear it if you do have one. So we are coming to the end of the video. I really hope you enjoyed that video and you enjoyed making all of those cards with me today. I hope that some of my tips were useful for you, and I hope you are feeling inspired. If you're not feeling inspired, I hope you're at least feeling relaxed, because that's what we like to feel on this channel, very relaxed. If you did enjoy this video, please give it a big thumbs up before you go, and subscribe to my channel for more, because that not only does that really help my channel grow, but that really makes me feel good. It shows me that I made a good video and that I entertained you, and that is really why I'm here on YouTube, to share my knowledge with you and to share inspiration with you and just to entertain you and just give you some you time where you can chill out, watch a video and just forget about everything else for a little while. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today, and I hope to see you back here on my channel again soon. Thanks for watching. Bye! Still here, good. I forgot to say, this is all that is left from my project. I've just got a few of the little fishtail banners left, and these are all my scraps. I maybe could have eked another card out of what's left, but to be honest, I didn't want to anymore. So I think this small amount of scraps left at the end is a really good effort for using up this entire paper pad, and I hope you guys agree. I don't feel bad about recycling these. I will of course save the fishtail banners, they'll be used on other cards. How do you think I did? Would you have done better? Would you have done worse? Let me know in the comments.